I've been in software industry for more than 7+ years and worked with different clients. I've been in high performance teams, mediumly performance team. So every experience was a great learning experience for me towards my growth. And as Brooke mentioned, I'm a core member of Women Who Code. So today we will be learning about Scrum in a nutshell with do's and don'ts. And I'll be taking the questions at the end. So let's just jump right in. So today we'll be learning what is Scrum, Scrum roles, artifacts, ceremonies, and do's and don'ts. That's the part that I'm more excited to share. So yeah, what is Scrum, right? So Scrum, just a second, guys. Yeah, let me just make sure my screen is right. Yep. So Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate a value through adaptive solutions for a complex problems, right? It is a framework that enables iterative and incremental product development, maximizing the value what is delivered. So most of the times, the Scrum project mostly starts with a vision of the product or the system that needs to be developed. And initially, this vision is vague, and it can be completely based on the market issues rather than technical terms. And slowly, as the project moves on, it becomes clearer. And out of this vision, the product owner is creating a product backlog. Right, and this point is very important. The last one, Scrum is founded on empiricism and lean thinking. Now, empiricism asserts that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed. And lean thinking reduces waste and focuses on the essentials, right? Scrum is not a code or a mantra. It's basically a plain, simple framework. It's used to improve the software development process. And it's really important that we gain that experience, like we gain and we improve the software development process based on the experience and based on the observation, right? So according to the 2020 Scrum Guide 101, in a nutshell, Scrum requires a Scrum Master to foster an environment. Now, when they say environment here, the environment is an organization where Scrum Master plays a role as a trainer, a mentor, a guide, and a facilitator, where the product owner orders the work for a complex problem, right? When I say orders the work for a complex problem, that means the product owner is the one who prioritizes the work for a complex problem into the product backlog. And the Scrum team turns a selection of work. The selection of work here is referred as a sprint backlog derived from the product backlog into an increment of value during that sprint. Now, increment is one of the Scrum artifact, right? So it's really important that whatever the work that we select, which is derived from the product backlog, should provide a value that is deliverable by end of the sprint. And the Scrum team and its stakeholders, that means the business and the team, inspect and adapt. Inspect the results and adapt, right? They inspect the results during the sprint review, during the sprint demo, and get the feedback and adapt. That means adjust and update. The product owner takes the feedback, update the product goal based on the feedback, and this process repeats. So that's short Scrum in a nutshell. So let's learn about the roles here. Now, the product owner. Now, the product owner is the one who represents the stakeholders of the project in an organization and is responsible for the final product. The product owner elicits the product requirements from the stakeholders, creates the product backlog. They are the one who is accountable for effective product backlog management by developing and explicitly communicating the product goal to the team. Now, I will be talking about product goal more in the coming up slides, but the product goal is really important, and it's product owner's responsibility to develop and explicitly communicate the product goal to the team. The product owner is the one who prioritizes the product backlog using business value points to ensure that the most valuable functionality is developed first. Now, that's the job of the product owner. Next, coming to the Scrum Master. Scrum Masters are true servant leaders. They are the one who serves the Scrum team, product owner, the entire organization in several ways. They make sure everyone plays by the rules and removes impediments for the team. Now, Scrum Masters are not part of the development team because they are not the one who tells the developers how to design, how to develop the product, how to code, right? So that's why they are not part of the development team. So the team figures out how to turn the product backlog into an incremental of functionality within the sprint. Now it's team's responsibility to build the sprint backlog from the product backlog and turn that into an incremental of functionality within that particular sprint. So by end of the sprint, whatever the goal that they have decided, they should deliver that value. It should be deliverable and it should be usable, right? So each team member is responsible for the success of each iteration and of the project as whole. Scrum team is responsible for software quality, technical implementation of the stories, delivery of functional software increment, and organizing themselves. Now, some of the high performance team that I have worked on, they are very self-organized. So those are the roles. Now coming to Scrum artifacts. Now, the first one is product backlog. Now, the product backlog, it's nothing but a list of all the tasks and requirements that the Scrum team should plan to work on during the next sprints. Now, it's product owner's responsibility to get the requirements from the stakeholders, to put it in the list and to create a product backlog for the team, right? So next is product goal. The long-term, the product goal is nothing but a long-term goal of the product or the project. It should be short and to the point. This is basically the bigger picture of the project. Now, for example, in a financial organization, one of their projects can be implementing the digital payment. Now, digital payment, that's the product goal. It's short, it's to the point, and it should represent the bigger picture. Now, sprint goal, sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is formed at the beginning of the sprint. Now, when I say here the beginning of the sprint, it is in the sprint planning session. Sprint backlog is formed in the sprint planning session by the team, and that is nothing but, again, a list of tasks the team intends to finish by the end of the sprint. It is derived from the product backlog. And the next is sprint goal, which is very important. Sprint goal is something that can be valued and something achievable in the sprint that builds up to the bigger picture. Now, for example, as a digital payment can be a product goal derived from the product goal, Apple Pay, which is achievable within that sprint, can be a sprint goal, right? Sprint goal should be something measurable. Right, sprint goal is not, it should not be like a story, or it should not be a user story saying that, hey, you know, this is a user story number that I'm achieving this. No, it is something, it should be valuable, it should be deliverable, it is something usable at the end of the sprint, right? So the next one is definition of done. This is nothing but a checklist which defines a user story is done. It's usually defined in sprint planning and it's changeable. Now, definition of done can be different for each user story. So when I say, like, I have 5 points in the definition of done, when I achieve all those 5 points, that means the user story is done and deliverable. So that should be the definition of done. You know, we'll be learning more going forward. But yeah, basically the concept of definition of done is the story is done if I actually go over the checklist of definition of done. Right, and the next one is product increment. Now, product increment is a newly developed usable part of the product. That means if we achieve Apple Pay as a sprint goal and achieve at the end of the sprint, that means the Apple Pay is out for the customers and it is usable product for the customers. And that's why we say Scrum is an incremental process, because incrementally we are releasing deliverable, we are delivering things that are usable by the customers, right? Move this thing here real quick. And the last one is burn down chat. So it's basically a chat to track the progress of the sprint, nothing else. We will be learning about this in the upcoming slides. So moving on to Scrum ceremonies. And Scrum ceremonies are nothing. So this is basically the entire cycle of the sprint. And the first one is sprint planning, right? So it takes place at the start of the sprint. Now, sprint planning, according to the Scrum Guide, initiates the sprint by laying out the work to be performed for that particular sprint. Now, this resulting planning is created by the collaborative work of the entire Scrum team. Now, the participants here are product owner, Scrum Master, and the team. The team picks the sprint backlog from the product backlog and defines in sprint planning and keep it. That means whatever the sprint backlog that we create in sprint planning, we are saying that we are achieving and delivering a value based on that backlog by end of the sprint. So it takes place at the starting of the sprint. Now, next is the daily scrum. Now, daily scrum takes place during the sprint. So it's a short ceremony. It takes place to sync up with the team. It's there to share the progress and remove impediments and nothing else, right? The participants here are Scrum Master and team. I will talk about more in do's and don'ts. For now, daily scrum is a short ceremony which is there to share the progress and remove impediments. And the third one is sprint review. Now, sprint review is a demo. They say it's sprint review, sprint demo that takes place at the end of the sprint. During the review, the Scrum team demos what they have accomplished during the sprint and get feedback by the stakeholders. So we inspect the results and get the feedback and adapt and adjust the product backlog, and then the process repeats. So the participants here are product owner, Scrum Master, team, and the stakeholders, like everyone. So the next one is sprint retrospective. Now, the sprint retrospective, it takes place at the end of the sprint, right? The sprint retro helps team to develop continuous process of the improvement. And according to the Scrum Guide, the purpose of the sprint retrospective is to plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness. Now, the participants here are Scrum Master and the team, but no one else. We don't want like product owners and stakeholders in the sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is something, it should be only to the team, where team can actually come out and share their challenges, be open, be transparent, and discuss like what are the impediments that they are facing and how they can improve the process, right? Improve the software development process for the upcoming sprints. So that's the main purpose of the sprint retrospective. And the last one here is backlog refinement. Now, this is a very important one. This takes place continuously. Product backlog refinement is the act of breaking down and further defining product backlog items into smaller and more precise items. Now, this is an ongoing activity to add details such as like description, order, and size. Now, attributes often vary with the domain of the work. And the participants here are product owners, Scrum Master, and the team. And this is where it's a very important ceremony, because this is where you define the stories, you define acceptance criteria of the story, you define the definition of done of the story. That means you keep the story ready to be delivered. Like if I say that story is ready, that means the story is deliverable and it produces some value. And this refinement ceremony is very important for the team to discuss and ask questions and make sure the story is ready to deliver. So that's what the backlog refinement is. Now, these are the Scrum ceremonies, and next we will go into do's and don'ts. So the first one is product owner should not be in the Scrum stand-up, right? Daily Scrum is not a glorified status meeting. So it's not an STO meeting. It's there only for the team to share their progress and discuss the blockers. That means the team needs to be open, transparent, share the progress, and discuss the blockers. Now, Scrum Master is here to help facilitate, but it's team's responsibility to share the progress and discuss the blockers. So if you have a product owner or a stakeholder in your stand-ups, so try to please remove them and keep it only to the team. And it's completely okay for us to meet the product owner outside of the stand-up, right? You can actually schedule a meeting and clarify questions, which is completely fine. But the Scrum stand-up is meant for the team and Scrum Master to facilitate. Now, also, it's always a good practice to provide your update, like in the following way, like what have you done yesterday, what you will be working on today, and are there any blockers, right? So that's the first one. And the second one is no overstepping by Scrum Master. Now, Scrum Master should not help team to design or develop the software product. Scrum Masters don't involve in product design meetings and development meetings. Scrum Masters are there to help the team, and they're just true servant leaders who serves the organization and entire team, product owners as mentors, trainees, facilitators, and a change agent, but they don't design or develop. And if you have an overstepping Scrum Master, please gently say to them that they are there, they are really important, they help us serve the team as mentors and guide us, like to explain us how the Scrum works and whether we are abiding by the rules, but they are not the one who should be saying you how to design and develop the code, right? So the third one is obsession with the features. Now, most of the times, management and companies are obsessed with features, and they want their backlog to be filled only with the feature work. Now, often the companies want the only thing that ever live in the backlog is the feature work, which is very non-productive. And if you want a better quality of product, we need a better code quality. And to have a better code quality, we need design patterns, better architectural patterns, and better testing strategies. And to achieve this, like all of the above is really important. And it, unfortunately, if you see this kind of, if you experience, it's really important to educate the management that a better code quality or product quality depends on the better code quality. And for that, it is important to not only have feature work, but also the work which includes design patterns, architectural patterns, testing strategies necessary for that particular product. So the fourth one is story points are not ours. This is very important, and story points should never be estimated as ours. This is unfortunately very common and very dysfunctional. But when you're on a project and when there are story points that are getting converted to hours, that's not a Scrum, it's a waterfall project. Now, your management is literally trying to commit you to deadlines like they used to do it in waterfall projects. And we don't have like a separate design phase, development phase, testing phase, and release phase in Scrum. Scrum is an iterative incremental process. We provide the value in increments. And the story points in Scrum are used to define the complexity of the stories, but not the hours of completion. Now, when you say a story pointer is a 5-pointer, that doesn't mean that that 5-pointer is there to complete the story in 30 hours. You can actually complete that story in 6 hours too, but the 5-pointer defines the complexity, like how complex the story is. So never estimate story points as hours. So the fifth one is refusal to cancel sprints, canceling sprints. That makes nervous. That's a nervous statement, right? So it's completely okay to cancel sprints. So there can be many situations where something unexpected happened that puts the sprint goal at risk. And it's at that time, it's completely okay to cancel the sprint, right? So for example, there is a goal for a sprint and we want the customers to place an order by end of the sprint. Now, for some reason, we didn't achieve this goal as something unexpected happened, or the complexity increased, or the product owner didn't answer all the questions at the right time. Someone fell sick and there was some team members had to take unexpected PTOs, something happened. And at that time, it's completely okay to cancel the sprint and start planning for the realistic, achievable timeline. Instead, what management usually does is try to fit everything in the same sprint, force the development team to work extra hours, which will lead into not proper testing. That means poor quality of product that creates tech debts, product debts, which in turn lead into many complexity just because you don't want to cancel the sprint. And it's product owner's responsibility here. It's completely okay for product owner to come step in and say that it's okay to cancel the sprint. Now, canceling sprint doesn't make the team look like they're underachieving, but a poor quality of product will do. So it's completely okay to cancel the sprint, right? So the sixth one is no acceptance criteria is a problem. Now, an acceptance criteria is a contract between a management and a developer, the development team. That's exactly what the story is supposed to deliver. Nothing more, nothing less. Acceptance criteria should be very clear. Acceptance criteria should never be a rehash of stories or other design documents. Acceptance criteria are not design documents. You can attach the design documents for, to clarify more questions, but it needs to stand on its own. It needs to include the functional criteria, non-functional criteria, and performance criteria, right? Functional criteria, for example, like let's say a given user is able to share documents with other users. So specific tasks, functions, and processes, right? So a non-functional criteria is something like design elements, something, for example, like a start free trial button has a red background, well, maybe not red, but gray, something else like that. So performance criteria is something, a quality such as response time, like app loads all functions after being selected in less than 2 seconds. So it needs to be very precise, and it's a contract between the management and developer. Now, when I have the acceptance criteria, if I deliver according to the acceptance criteria, that means my story is deliverable, right? Definition of done and acceptance criteria, there are two different things. So when the acceptance criteria has functional criteria, non-functional criteria, performance criteria, when I define all those things, that means I'm like binding a contract here and saying that my story is delivered if I achieve all those things, right? So let's see some bad examples first, or one bad example first. So as a user, I want to submit feedback so that my feedback is considered. It's very vague, right? The scenario is basically user submits feedback form with the valid data. Now, given I'm in a role of user, when I open the feedback page, then the system shows me the form. When I fill the form, then the system submits my feedback. Now, this is a very vague acceptance criteria, like many edge cases are missing, many validations are missing. And while building the story, you might have more questions. So that will change the scope of the story and it just blows it up. So it's really, and according to the Bill Wake, the most important checklist that can be followed to write a good story is the acronym INVEST. It stands for independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable. Now, your story should be independent. I know it's not possible all the time, but at least you should try to make the story independent as much as possible. It should be very negotiable. It should be valuable, like it needs to deliver some value. It needs to deliver value by end of the story, right? It needs to be estimable, small, and testable. So if you invest in good stories, you will have a good product increment. Now let's see the same scenario with a good example, right? So as a website user, I want to able to submit feedback so that the website owners can consider my opinion or concern during future website updates. Now, this is how the acceptance criteria goes for it. The scenario is user submits feedback form with the valid data. Now, given I am in a role of logged in or guest user, we are defining how many types of users are here. When I open the feedback page, then the system shows me the submit feedback form containing email, name, and comment fields, which are required when I fill in the email field button of background color red with the valid email address, and I fill in the name field button of background color red with my name, comment field button of background color red with my comment, and click the submit feedback button of background color red, then the system submits my feedback. And the system shows that you have successfully submitted your feedback flash message in 1 millisecond, and the system clears the fields of the submit feedback form. So this is one of the good examples. I know there is more room for improvement. But, this is one of the good example, better than the one which we just saw. So that's the acceptance criteria. And the last one is burn down chat is not a KPI of the team, right? So burn down chat is not performance measurement tool. This should not be used to punish or like blame the team or point it out. Burn down chat should be shared only within the team. And this can be shared in retrospective and discuss with the team about improving sprints to increase quality and effectiveness. Now, burn down shot is not like something that you just open up for the product owners and stakeholders and say that, oh, this is, I'm seeing this, and this is, the team is not performing well. It's not to point out to someone, not to point out the team or blame. So this is plainly for the team purpose, to use it in the retrospective and see like how they can improvise the upcoming sprints, how they can increase the quality and effectiveness of the upcoming sprint. So with that, I am completed of my presentation. And I took measure of my material from Healthy Dev Channel and Scrum Guide and Agile 42. So much thanks to all these information, all these references. And I don't know what's the time, but I'm ready for the questions. I just felt like I went super quick.
It was great. It was good. I feel like we'll have a good amount of questions probably. It seemed like there were some folks that they're not, doing Agile on their team right now. So I think it's great. Looks like someone also just got their certification. And so, yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or just come off mute and we can go ahead and take questions. Someone asked, will this slide deck be available to refer on later on? Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah, so yes, this event is recorded. I would probably be like a week. I would give Women Who Code Global. They'll get it posted on our YouTube channel, and I'll make sure to share it out with everybody.
I'm here for any questions, guys. If you have anything, I can talk more. Yeah, I mean, Scrum is basically a framework, and you can just I always learned to say that like it's a framework and it's completely up to the team, right? Like how they can actually use this framework and improvise their software development process. So if you have any question, feel free to ask. I'm here. I just felt like I went too fast. So
no, you're fine. I'll just kick it off. It looks like Maylene has a question, but I'll kick it off for just to get on the going, because I know a lot of people have questions. But I'm a UX designer for you guys that don't know. So I'm actually like introducing UX into the Scrum practice, because I think design obviously was not thought about, obviously, when this whole framework was built, but this framework is great and there are ways to do it. So I don't know if you have any like couple of tips around getting design into this kind of flow, and like anything you've tried that might have worked.
Yeah, definitely. So I say like you can use Scrum everywhere. Some people actually use on their families too, like on daily basis. I have first, when I heard that, I was like, that's interesting. So it's, as I said, it's a very lightweight framework, and it's just not like a code or something that you need to follow. It usually starts with gathering the requirements, and it always helps for someone to play that product owner role and Scrum Master role, and then just gathering the requirements. And you can design, like you can define your stories based on your design like requirements. One of the example that I gave is like just creating a submit page, and like when you create a page, like what kind of background color you want to use for the page, what kind of background color you want to use for individual buttons and all that stuff. And then I don't know, like I'm just trying to find a really good example that like submit page or like a digital payment form or something like that. how you would like actually, so your digital payment form can be your product goal, and then your Apple payment form can be your sprint goal. And that's how you just like make sure you create stories that are derived from your product goal. And then you keep going on. That's it. Like, it's just a very lightweight framework, and it's more like how the team sees fits in.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered your questions there.
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you. All right, let's start with Maylene, has her hand raised.
Sorry. That was such a great presentation, and this is my first time actually learning Scrum. And I just loved how you presented it. Very fast paced, and I could keep up. But I was just curious, like when you first started as Scrum Master, like how was that? Was it already implemented, or did you implement it? Just curious to hear your experience.
Sure. I was actually a software engineer first, and then in between I did my Scrum certification, and then I got an opportunity to be a Scrum Master for a team, and which was already implemented. And the Scrum Master was my mentor, and that's where I actually learned a lot of stuff after completing my Scrum certification. So it was already implemented. And it was a high performance team, very self-organized team, very high performance team. And at that point, we still didn't have some of the Scrum artifacts like product goal, sprint goal, definition of done, and all these kinds of stuff. So I, as a new Scrum Master, got an opportunity to just be in the team and explain how those are important, and how key they are, and how important they are, and how well they can play a big role for delivering good incremental products. So it was there. And after that, I got an opportunity to build everything from scratch. So that was a great opportunity too. And sometimes it's a lot of unknowns. And then there were management, they were very new. And most of the management, when they see something changing, they are always like on alert, right? They are like a little bit nervous how things will fit into it. And I got an opportunity to like explain, you just need to be like extra patience with them, explaining how, and once they see all these things fitting, because most of the time what management requires is a product, they just need to see the value that we are delivering. And that's what Scrum is all about, like delivering the value, right? So yep, that was my experience. Thanks for asking that question, Maylene.
Thank you.
I see Latha. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Brooke. Yeah, I was in the morning session. I really wanted to attend this session just with the title, because I relate with Scrum, having worked in an agile environment. Though I am not a Scrum Master, even being part of a team member, I realize how critical it is in current corporate work environment. So first, I would like to thank Maha for the presentation. Very well prepared. I joined a bit late, so I do have to refer to the slides. And coming to my question, this is something that I always struggle with, because I'm not a Scrum leader or anything. And many times in the recent times, my Scrum leaders are somewhat like they don't get into the details that I would like to know. So it's like I have limited information. So when you said you had your Scrum Master as a mentor, that's so good. I hope I get a chance to, have one of them as my mentor. So my question is, when they come up with the definition of done and acceptance criteria for a project, could you elaborate on those two terms if possible, with any sort of example? I know examples could be difficult because you have to probably get into some specific details, but yeah, however you feel it's possible to explain it.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, I'm here. I have actually presented this example. I can go over this one more time. So And acceptance criteria is basically a contract, right? It's a contract between the management and the development team. So when you have acceptance criteria defined, you're saying that once I achieve everything in this acceptance criteria, my story is done and deliverable. It's completed. So it's basically a contract saying that this is what the story delivers, and this is what the story is valuable based on the acceptance criteria. Now, definition of done is like how the, like, it's basically definition of done, like whether the story is done based on all these elements. Like, let's see, if we take a story, like I should be delivering the acceptance criteria, which is like the value, and then it should be tested within these scenarios and within these requirements. So all the testing strategies, you can define the testing strategies in the definition of done. And then also like this story needs to be deployed into the prod. And this story needs to be like tested in these ways. So definition of done is something we are saying that once I achieve the list of definition of done, that means the story is done. So one of the examples that I actually has given here for acceptance criteria is, so let's say a user needs to submit feedback form like with a valid data, right? So like one of this good example is, given I'm in a role of a logged in or a guest user, when I open the feedback page, then the system shows me the submit feedback form containing email, name, and comment fields which are required. And when I fill in that email button with the background color with a valid email address, name with the background color with my name, comment field with the background color with my comment, submit feed, like, and I click the submit feedback button of the background color. So then the system like should accept, like submit my feedback, and the system shows that you have successfully submitted your feedback, flash message in 1 millisecond. And the system clears the feedback fields of the submit feedback form, right? So this is like one of the good example, and the same bad example here, which is very vague, saying that given I'm in the role of user, when I open the feedback page, then the system shows me the form. When I fill the form, then the system submits my feedback. So there is a difference between that. When you have this vague acceptance criteria, there is a lot of stuff is missing. So many validations are missing. And like you might have like many questions while you're like, performing the story, while you're developing the story. And you will always have to go back to the product owner. That might increase the scope of the story. When you're increasing the scope of the story, it just blows up the sprint, and that can jeopardize the sprint goal. And which is not like you cannot deliver without the value, right? So these are some of the like bad examples, and these are some of the good examples. But it's really important for a story to have a good acceptance criteria, and that's where the developers need to help the product owner to say like what. So most of the time product owners are not completely technical. So when you are getting a user story, like some more technical aspects, like how to develop the story. So it's really important you use the backlog refinement time and ask questions of like all sort of questions, right? So for that particular user story, so the team has to work collaboratively. Everyone needs to be transparent, ask questions, and try to help product owner needs to help the developers answering all the stakeholders like requirements, and Scrum Master is the one who helps to facilitate, like brings out the developers and helps them to ask questions. So I hope this helps, but yep, that's basically the definition of acceptance criteria and definition of done.
Thank you. That was a good example. I will I'll think about that, and if I have any doubts, I'll get back to you later. And
Sure,
I
definitely.
point when you mentioned about Scrum being used in a family discussion, that happens to me with my brother, who is also a manager. So the acceptance criteria, when I say something, he has his own acceptance criteria, right? Which
Yes.
create that sort of a thing. So I was curious later if you can just tell how was your experience for related to this topic.
Sure, definitely. I would love to. It's just, if you take the narrow-minded of the Scrum only to the software development and just, make it so broad, it's all about like communicating properly. It's all about the right communication. As long as you communicate, these are all the tools, right? Like the acceptance criteria, definition of done, refinement, retrospective. These are all the tools that you can actually use for the right set of communication. So, yep, definitely, like
Thank you.
Thank you. Julie has a question. Hey, Julie, I think you're on mute.
Okay. I
I think you went back on mute.
yeah.
Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah,
I just got my CSM in March, and I was wondering, are there any internships anywhere that way you could follow a Scrum Master throughout the sprint process, so you could see exactly what they're doing? Because right now it's all just theoretical, and I'd really like to be able to see something. And also, my second question was, how did you decide on, or how did you get your mentor?
So I happened to be lucky with my mentor because I was working in an organization and I was already a senior software engineer there. And I've been working in Agile and Scrum for a very long time. I've worked in Safe, Agile, and Scrum, and all sorts of things. And I did my Scrum certification, and then I just shared that news with my team, and my team just saw that I can just handle the teams. And my Scrum Master had to go on a vacation. Usually he doesn't get to take a lot of vacations because he's the only Scrum Master. And when they saw me that I did this, I was like, hey, let's just pull in Maha. And that's where I used to discuss a lot of stuff with my mentor, and he helped me so much to gain all the knowledge. He documented most of the stuff for me so that my first experience was really good experience. And that's how I got my mentor. And to answer your internship, you can try, if you have a LinkedIn profile, you can definitely go ahead and try market yourself and say that you're open to work and open for internship. And sometimes people can just pull in for you just to see how the process goes on. Networking plays a really huge role. And even here today, if anyone has that opportunity, they can just, you can connect with them and then reach out, and it's all about networking.
Yeah, I've copied everybody's email, their LinkedIn address.
Perfect.
So.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Because it's really hard getting your first job because they want you to have at least a couple years experience. And so it's just really hard getting your foot in the door, especially since I don't have any project management experience. Although I was a manager and a supervisor of a team for the Office of the State Superintendent of Education. So we did do some of the Scrum, iteratives and increments and stuff like that. So I could put that, I need to focus that more, put that more on my resume, I guess.
Yes,
Scrum
definitely.
focus.
Yeah, your resume speaks about yourself. It's really important that you actually add that kind of experience. And also, as I said, Scrum is just not for, I know most of the software industry uses Scrum, but I also know some of the, all the industries has started using Scrum, like textile industry and I don't know, manufacturing industry or something else. And if you see an opportunity out there while you're talking to people, and if you have this kind of experience, just try to market yourself there and say that you have this experience and you can really help people. Sometimes that's what I do. I just talk and market myself.
Mm-hmm. So is it hard if you don't have any software experience?
I don't know how to answer that question. Maybe it is. especially during this time of season of layoffs and everything, I wouldn't say that it is really hard, but most of the Scrum is used in the software industry,
Right.
or at least I have seen that. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there are other industries that have been using that. But yes, software experience would really help because there are many projects that use it, and other industries are slowly getting this. So they might just not understand. And as I said, like most of the management, they're just so nervous to do anything new. And they are like, oh my God, we don't want to do that. So yeah, if you have a software experience, it would be very beneficial.
No, that's what I was saying, because I don't have software experience, and most of the software companies that are looking for Scrum Masters would want
Right.
people with, software experience. So that's another setback. But
Yeah, but don't let that discourage you. So keep networking, and I'm sure that you would definitely find something.
okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple of questions in the chat. I think it was Becky that first asked about training and certifications. So I don't know if you have any recommendations
Sure.
on that.
I actually did my first certification from Scrum Alliance, and it's a 2-day program. You got to sit from morning to evening. It's an 8-hour program, but you will love it. They have an amazing way of training, amazing mentors, and they're very engaging. It's not like you just sit there and just keep on taking the material. It's very engaging. You get to like be your own Scrum. You get to have your own team, you get to be a Scrum Master, you get to play the role play and, do all such kind of things. The first one is Scrum Alliance. And then next one was the Safe Agile training. That was given by like one of my co-worker from my company. And like it was just a company sponsored. And I think it was something Safe Agile. I don't remember, but I can share that in the LinkedIn or something like that. I'll post it in the LinkedIn. But yeah, it's a Safe Agile one.
Nice. Any other questions? Everyone feel free to come off mute or drop it in chat. I think that's all I've seen. If I've missed any questions.
Brooke, I had another question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just wondering, because I am looking for any sort of senior who can, mentor me a bit with Agile and Scrum. Would it be all right if I can reach out to you, Maha, sometime later?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. You have my LinkedIn. I mean, this is my LinkedIn profile. You can just reach out to me, and yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you. I hope it's okay because this is the first time I'm actually meeting you, and sometimes I'm hesitant in asking anyone, but I really liked the presentation and thought it would be nice to reach out.
Sure, definitely. Yep. Don't hesitate. I'm here. And I will say like whenever I'm available, and I'll also say if I'm not available. So don't mind me there, but yeah, completely fine.
That is understandable. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Nice. Anyone have any other questions? Looks like Julie has one.
Is it okay if your mentor is, like, I'm near Washington, D.C., but there is somebody who is president of one of the agile foundations and networks, and he said that he would help me if I had needed any help in my progress. So what are the first things you ask them?
I mean, for me, I just got an opportunity to just dive in and jump in. But I mean, the first questions, basic, because you're new, maybe you can just ask, like, if you get a new project or if you have to start from the scratch, how do you start from the scratch as a new trainee or a new member of the, just came out of the certifications, came out of the course. So as a new like how do you, like a new Scrum Master, how do you actually start the project from the scratch? And
Okay.
also, if you get into a very well-established team, what are the first things that you actually go and approach there? Like, how do you start in a well-established team and any project from the scratch?
Okay, great. That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
There's a question in the chat. Do you have any tips for those wanting to use Scrum in healthcare?
Well, I think that's a very great industry to actually use Scrum. Personally, that's what I feel. So, sure. I mean, it's, as I said, it's a very lightweight framework, and you can just definitely introduce the Scrum. Maybe you can just take the material and, you know, like help them give a presentation and help them like understand what exactly the Scrum is. It's really important for the management to see how helpful it is. And again, Scrum is an incremental, like product incremental process, right? Like if you show the value and if you show that you can deliver that particular value in the incremental process, rather than just taking a chunk of it and waiting for a certain period of time as a waterfall, and then like, you know, pushing everything at the end and developing, it's just like, if you show how important and how well you can deliver in a product incremental way, I think it's great for healthcare system too. So it's a lightweight framework. You can mold it, but you know, just following the foundation of thing as it, like empiricism and lean thinking, like gaining your, like improving the process based on your experiences and observation. I think it will be great for any industry. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it looked like it did. Someone asking for some book recommendations or blogs, I guess, for those readers out there.
Right. So Scrum Guide is the first book. So Scrum has their own Scrum Guide, and I think it's 2020 Scrum Guide 101 is the one that I actually just go back and refer to. But there are many channels out there. So I took my most of the references from like most of my material, which I really loved was, yeah, thanks. Someone, yep, Brooke, thank you. You posted the Scrum Guide. So, the Healthy Dev channel, he does like great presentations on the software, like how to be a great software engineer, how to be a great Scrum Masters, and some of the don'ts and, you know, do's and don'ts in the Scrum industry. And then like Agile 24 is the other one too. So, but Scrum Guide is the foundation for everything, and that's where you can just get all the information from.
Lovely. I was trying to share some of those that
Yeah.
you put in there. I don't know if I missed one, but anyone else have any questions? Feel free to come off mute. I think we got all the questions in the chat. Yeah, this is recorded and I will share it with everybody as soon as it's posted on YouTube. I think they don't take longer than a week, so should hopefully be able to have something out to you guys early next week.
Cool. And Rosalind was asking, what was the first recommendation before Agile 24? That was a Scrum Guide, Rosalind. It's Scrum Guide 101. I think it's 2020 Scrum Guide. So yep, that's the first one.
And while we're waiting for maybe a couple more questions to come through, we did create an Agile Slack channel in our Richmond private Slack, so that folks could go there and continue to like these conversations. And me and Maha kind of thought of that idea when she brought this event to our chapter. So I'm excited for that channel. You know, more folks. It'd be great, you know, to create a little sub community, right, in our sub community of sub communities. You know,
Right.
you know, it's great to kind of have some sprint master, you know, Scrum Masters in our channel. I'm trying to get like recruiters in there. So it's not, you know, just developers, not just engineers, you know, trying to spread out our community.
Right. Yeah. So I'm there in the channel. And if you have any questions, Yep, I'm here. You can ask me through Slack. You can ask me through LinkedIn.
Yeah. I think, did Rosalind? Sorry, I didn't know if we answered her.
Yeah, yes, I did. Text her in chat saying it's a healthy dev channel, Rosalind.
Okay.
Right. Yep. For sure, Malin. Yeah, it's very versatile and it's very lightweight. So whatever works for the team. I always say as a Scrum Master, the first thing, like before any conversation, after any conversation, I always say that whatever works for the team, because we really need to be very transparent, like Scrum Master. There are no like dictators here, right? We are all like working equally and we are all equally contributing. So Scrum Master and product owner, they are not like dictators. You are not someone who are like, yeah, we're playing a master slave thing role here. It's we are not like the developers are not slaves or the product owners are not masters. We are all equally contributing. So it's a lightweight framework. It's very versatile and whatever works for the team. So the team can actually, and some of the teams, I saw like some of the projects, like including product owners in the retrospectives. I mean, maybe the teams are like very transparent and the product owner has created that kind of environment for the team, right? So they are like very open and they don't do like pass any judgmental and how you actually develop. And I have seen those very high performance teams including the product owners, and some of the teams were like, no, they're not including product owners. Some of the teams have included stakeholders too, who completely understand the Scrum and Agile process, and they know that this is just like another way of improving things. So whatever works for the team, and whatever I shared, these are just like the basic, like the basic framework rules, which like suggestions that are helpful based on various different materials and based on the Scrum guide and based on the experiences of different people. So which I took it from the internet and which I felt like this is really great and I just wanted to share.
Yeah. And it's really true, if you are doing the process right, and you will have high performing teams and you'll have, high collaborative teams, and we are very honest, and it's really nice to be on a team where I think a really great way to put it is that we all own all of the work, that's why we all refine together. Like we all are deeply into the problem and, trying to understand it. So even if we aren't the ones actually doing the work that sprint, we all own that work. It is all of ours. So when each person takes an onus in all of that, it really makes for a great team.
I have one question.
Hey, Maya, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you? Nice seeing you all. So I missed the first 30 minutes. I'm sorry, it was dinner time and I just tasted. But I have a question. What do you think is the difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager, or a team leader, like a UX design team leader, or even a software team leader? So how do you define the roles between these? Because they kind of overlap.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So most of them has this, this particular question. So Scrum Master is just a facilitator. Now, for some of the projects, Scrum Master acts as a business analyst and a project manager for some of the projects. But most of the time, the role of the Scrum Master is to facilitate, right? It is to like provide the facilitation, be a mentor, be a guide for the team, to help them through the Scrum process, to explain them the rules and to remove the impediments and blockers. Now, for some projects, yes, Scrum Masters acts as a project manager. But when you see a UI UX designer or a lead developer or lead designer, so they are the developers. They are the one who are part of the development team. Well, I got an opportunity to be a developer and also be a Scrum Master, but I always used to switch the hats. Like when I was a developer, I used to concentrate on how to like ask all the developing questions and create a better user stories for, better you like better deliverable and better value. But when I switched to a Scrum Master, as a Scrum Master, I don't get to tell the team how to design and, like how to develop. I always used to say that, hey, you know what, I'm switching to my developer role here, and this is where I'm asking question, and this is the design question and developing question. And when I'm a Scrum Master, I'm like switching to a Scrum Master. So a Scrum Master usually they don't participate in design and development. They don't get to like dictate the team saying that, hey, this is how you have to develop the code. This is how you have to, like design the code, right? So the development leaders are purely there for help to actually produce a better quality of the product and help the product owner and the Scrum Master to tell like how important, how we can improve the product quality based on the code quality, right? So the Scrum Master role, sometimes, yes, as I said, like they play a project manager role, but yep, that's the difference.
So do you think a Scrum Master is between the development team and the project manager? Is it between, or we can't even talk about that relationship? Maybe it's a part of one corner of the triangle, like project management, development, and Scrum Master.
Yes. To avoid the confusion these days, like most of the teams, they started to adopt, instead of a project manager, they started to adopt a product owner role. And Scrum Master plays, yes, they are the mediators, they are the mentors, they play that facilitating role between the, like product owner and between the team. And sometimes maybe between the project manager and within the team too. But the Scrum way is, the Scrum roles are product owners, Scrum Masters, and the team. Now, those are the Scrum roles. And like, well, when it comes to safe agile, we have like more roles there because it's for the bigger organization, more structured and larger organizations, like agile release trains or something like that. But mostly when you're implementing Scrum, they started to like keep it close to the Scrum roles. But if you have a project manager and a Scrum Master, then yes, Scrum Master plays the mediator role.
I think I've seen so many places looking for project managers / Scrum Masters, so they want you to do both roles. So I think you should get paid twice the amount if they want you to do both roles, because it's twice the work.
Right. It's like managing your team, and that's what like the Scrum Master does. They manage the team. They try to like keep everyone on toes. Basically, I saw a video in one of my trainers. It's almost like Scrum Master like pulling everyone. It was very funny and sarcastical way of saying that they keep everyone on toes, right? So
yeah, and like you said, it would be hard to switch from this is what you need to do to I'm a servant leader. I can't tell you what to do, so that's hard. That'll be hard.
You serve as a Scrum Master, and even as a project manager, you serve the team. Then a true leader is the one who serves, right? It's not like a leader who dictates and tells like what to do and what not to do, right?
Yeah. I would say the skills, Maha, from being, say you were a project manager looking into maybe being a PO, like those skills are more similar, right? And would make more sense because, you own the project, you own the product,
right?
Versus a project manager trying to become a Scrum Master. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it is
right.
two different things. Yeah.
Yes. Most of the project managers that change to the role of the product because they are the one who talks to the stakeholders, gets the requirements and stuff and everything. Yeah.
Victoria said, do you feel the Scrum Master or project? I'm not sure if that's project manager or product manager has more hands-on during the process.
Do you feel that the Scrum Master or project manager has more hands-on during the process? So when you say hands-on, like I said, everyone has an equal role and everyone plays an important role. Like everyone has their own role to play within the team. Now, as if you have a project manager and a Scrum Master, maybe like the Scrum Master role is to like help the project manager to get all the requirements and help the project manager to play the product owner role because you have a Scrum Master here and so everyone has an equal role to play. And as a Scrum Master, you are the facilitator. Like, you get to make sure like all the ceremonies are taking place at the right time, and all the team, like, remove the impediments or blockers, make sure you are that one single point of contact, help the entire team to communicate, to actually have a better process. So I would say like everyone has their own role to play, and everyone has an equal opportunity to have that hands-on experience. And I hope that answered your question, Victoria. Cool.
Lovely. Any other questions out there? This has been a great dialogue.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of this world, and I do not ever plan to go back to waterfall. So fingers crossed.
Yes, definitely.
I don't think there's any more questions. Had some great questions. Thanks, everybody.
I just put in the chat on Saturday mornings, there's an agile group. It's a agile coaching group. And that's a really, really good, really good group of people. They're very knowledgeable, and there's mostly advanced and medium, but there's some people like me who I'm a beginner. So
Nice.
you can see it on Meetup, and it's by a man named Rick something.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I put that post, if you can see it. Can you see that down there?
I don't see it yet, but yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. If you can
There we
repost
go.
it again.
Yeah,
Yay, thank you.
yeah. So it's Saturday mornings at 8:30 until 10.
That's nice.
So you'll learn right from the beginning in the morning. So, but it's really, really good, and it's
That's
interactive
cool.
and it's fun. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Julie.
mhm.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his name is Rick something.
that's cool. Yeah, it's a great time to like actually be in, for me especially. I mean, I'll be dropping my kid to his classes, and then I can just usually I'm waiting outside in the car and watching something, or reading a book, or doing things, so I could just utilize the time.
Yeah, that's really cool. Saturday morning. They have one this Saturday.
Yes,
I just found it
they
on
have it every
Meetup.
Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Really good, really good.
Perfect. I just opened it, so that's great.
Nice. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I don't think there's any other questions. Thank you so much, Maha. I hope everyone connects with Maha on LinkedIn, and feel free to keep the questions coming. If you want to get into the Richmond Slack channel, please just let me know. I just need your email, but it is private, mainly for Richmond DMV areas. I try to just keep folks around that and are there, but we also have a Women Who Code public Slack and code Slack, a cloud Slack as well. So if y'all are not already in those, please make sure you join. Thank you so much, Maha.
Yep. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share. And I was so excited to share all the information that I have learned. And I am actually a very new Scrum Master. I probably did my first Scrum certification in 2021. So I don't have like 10 to 12 years experience, honestly. In the software industry, as a software engineer, I do, but I have got a great opportunity from all my colleagues and teams to, just jump in and gain that kind of experience. So I'm here to, I'm in the Slack, I'm available in the LinkedIn. So I'm a mom, so I take my time to answer, but I will answer your questions.
Yes. Yeah. I started Scrum just a couple of years ago too. And, it's night and day, but I've learned so much, and it is a really valuable process, I think, in the software development space anyways. But it's good to know now that you can use it for whatever.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I will make sure to share all of this information and all the resources we mentioned with everybody. And soon as the video of the recording is posted on YouTube, I'll make sure to send it out to everybody. But if you don't
Okay,
get it
good.
for some reason, please reach out to me.
Do you want us to put our emails, our LinkedIn emails, or just our emails in the chat, or?
No, I have everyone's information through Meetup, so I can just send a
Okay.
message through that. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I'll send it in Slack too, and I'll probably post on my LinkedIn a couple times.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll try to share it as much as possible. Thanks, everybody. Everyone have a great evening.
Have a good night. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.